Something has changed within me. Something is not the same. I'm through with playing by the rules of someone else's game. Too late for second guessing. Too late to go back to sleep. It's time to trust my instincts. Close my eyes and leap. It's time to try defying gravity. I think I'll try defying gravity, and you can't pull me down.
Can't I make you understand? You're having delusions of grandeur.
I'm through accepting limits, 'cause someone says they're so. Some things I cannot change, but till I try, I'll never know. Too long I've been afraid of losing love. I guess I've lost. Well, if that's love, it comes at much too high a cost. I'd sooner by defying gravity. Kiss me goodbye, I'm defying gravity, and you can't pull me down. Unlimited, together we're unlimited. Together we'll be the greatest team there's ever been. Glinda dreams the way we planned them.
If we work in tandem, there's no fight we cannot win. Just you and I defying gravity. With you and I defying gravity.
They'll never bring us down. So if you care to find me, look to the western sky. As someone told me lately, everyone deserves the chance to fly. And if I'm flying solo, at least I'm flying free. To those who crown me, take a message back from me. Tell them how I am defying gravity. I'm flying high, defying gravity, and soon I'll match them in renown. And nobody in all of Oz, no wizard that there is or was, is ever gonna bring me down. Oh.
Thank you, Alyssa. Thank you. Thanks you all so much for being here. That was the tiny desk version of Defying Gravity, the final song in the first act of the musical Wicked, which is about to celebrate its 20th anniversary on Broadway later this year. Thank you. Of course, we've played here in DC many times as well. These are the two current stars of the show right now. This is Alyssa Fox, who's playing Elphaba, the so-called Wicked Witch. McKenzie Kurtz, Glinda the Good. I am Stephen Schwartz. I am the composer and lyricist of Wicked. And thank you. So when Winnie Holzman, who wrote the book for the show, and I were first talking about adapting the novel by Gregory Maguire, Wicked, The Life and Times of the Wicked Witch of the West, we knew basically three things we wanted to do from the very beginning, even as we were working out the structure. We knew that we wanted to open the show with our version of Ding Dong, the Witch is Dead, with all of Oz celebrating the melting of the Wicked Witch of the West, and then flash back to how we got to that point. We knew how we wanted to end the show, which I'm not going to disclose here because I'm not going to do any spoilers. But we also knew that for the end of the first act, that was when we wanted the Wicked Witch to fly for the first time, to come into her power. And so very, very early in the writing process, when we were still working out the outline and structure for the show, I would noodle every now and then for a musical feel, and I found that riff that you've just heard, this. And scribbled it down on a piece of paper, and about 1.5 years later, that evolved into Defying Gravity, which you've just heard. So one of the things that Winnie and I loved about Gregory's book was the very clever notion that Elphaba and Glinda met at university, that they were extremely reluctant roommates who just had an instant loathing for one another. But during the course of the story, they develop a kind of friendship. And so to dramatize that moment when they become friends, we were inspired by Jane Austen's Emma. And we thought it would be very funny and appropriate in character for Glinda to decide that she's going to give Elphaba a makeover. Emma, as you know, is the story of a very popular and wealthy young woman who takes a kind of awkward, socially awkward other young woman under her wing and decides to renovate her. And so we called the scene the Clueless scene after the movie, the contemporary movie adaptation of Emma. And the scene ends with the following song. Now, for this song, well, for all the music in Wicked, with the exception of the Wizard's music, I didn't want it to sound identifiably like our culture, our world. That I wanted it to be somewhere else, but still very gettable to us. So what I tried to do in this song is do a kind of Ozian version of bubblegum pop. You'll see how you feel about it.
Whenever I see someone less fortunate than I, and let's face it, who isn't less fortunate than I, my tender heart tends to start to bleed. And when someone needs a makeover, I simply have to take over. I know exactly what they need. And even in your case, though it's the toughest case I've yet to face, don't worry, I'm determined to succeed. Follow my lead, and yes, indeed, you will be popular. You're gonna be popular. I'll teach you the proper ploys when you talk to boys, little ways to flirt and flounce. I'll show you what shoes to wear, how to fix your hair, everything that really counts to be popular. I'll help you be popular. You'll hang with the right cohorts. You'll be good at sports. Know the slang you've got to know. So let's start, 'cause you've got an awfully long way to go. Don't be offended by my frank analysis. Think of it as personality dialysis. Now that I've chosen to become a palisade or an advisor, there's nobody wiser, not when it comes to popular. I know about popular, and with an assist from me to be who you'll be instead of dreary who you were, well, are. There's nothing that can stop you from becoming popular. Lar. La, 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 make you popular. When I see depressing creatures with unprepossessing features, I remind them on their own behalf to think of celebrated heads of state or specially great communicators. Did they have brains or knowledge? Don't make me laugh. They were popular! Please, it's all about popular. It's not about aptitude, it's the way you're viewed, so it's very shrewd to be very, very popular like me. And though you protest your disinterest, I know clandestinely you're gonna grin and bear it, your newfound popularity. La, 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 you'll be popular, just not quite as popular as me.
So later on in the story, both Elphaba and Glinda they fall for the same guy, who is a winky prince and a kind of bad boy. And Elphaba and he have an encounter in which there is clearly chemistry between them, but by that point he's affianced to Glinda. So Elphaba is trying to deal with her feelings in the following song. And when I was working on the song, I wanted to try and do a kind of very simple, heartfelt, but restrained ballad. And I was inspired by a song that I loved as a kid, which was, it's a Scottish folk song, and I loved this recording of it that was sung by a folk singer named Ronnie Gilbert, who was with a folk group called the Weavers. And one of the things I liked best about this song was that it ended. This is going to be a little nerdy for me to tell you this, but so it ends not on the tonic, on the one chord, which 99.44% of songs do. It ends on the five chord, the dominant. And I like that it sort of has this feeling of suspension and to be continued. And I thought that I would play you a little bit, a very compressed version of that folk song, I Know Where I'm Going, and then Alyssa will perform I'm Not That Girl, and you'll see if you hear the inspiration. I know where I'm going, and I know who's going with me. I know who I love, but the Lord knows who I'll marry. Some say he's bad, but I say he's bonny. Fairest of them all is my handsome, winsome Johnny. Ending on the five chord.
Hands touch, eyes meet, sudden silence, sudden heat, hearts leap in a giddy whirl. He could be that boy, but I'm not that girl. Don't dream too far. Don't lose sight of who you are. remember that rush of joy. He could be that boy. I'm not that girl. Every so often we long to steal to the land of what might have been, but that doesn't soften the ache we feel when reality sets back in. Blithe smile, lithe limb, she who's winsome, she wins him. Gold hair with a gentle curl, that's the girl he chose. And heaven knows I'm not that girl. Don't wish, don't start. Wishing only wounds the heart. I wasn't born for the rose and pearl. There's a girl I know, he loves her so. I'm not that girl.
So the final song in the show is a farewell song between these two friends who've been friends, enemies, frenemies, just about every aspect of a relationship. And this is when they are basically saying goodbye to one another. They know they're never going to see one another again. And it took me a long time to have the courage to try to write the song, because I knew that this was the beating heart of the show. And if we got this right, then we had the show, the emotion of the show. And if we didn't, then it really didn't matter too much else what we did. But when I finally felt ready to do it, I called Winnie Holzman, my collaborator, and we just brainstormed, as we often did when we were coming upon a new scene or a new song. And in the course of our talk, she said at one point, well, you know, they've completely changed each other's lives. I mean, they're never going to be the same. They've really changed each other for good. And I was like, stop. I have to hang up. That's the title of the song. It's such a great title, which Winnie found for me, because I like titles that mean two different things. And at least in English, for good, of course, means both forever and literally for good. And so when I was then going to try to write the song, my daughter Jessica happened to be up visiting me, and she has had a friend since she was about 8 years old. She's grown up now. And this friend of hers, whose name is Sarah, and she have also been through all sorts of times when they weren't speaking with one another, times when they were the closest of friends, etc. And now they're, friends for life. And I went to Jess with a little yellow pad in hand, and I said, so I want you to imagine that you're only going to see Sarah one more time in your life. What would you say to her? And she started to say a bunch of things about people coming into our lives for a reason, and a bunch of other things that I wrote down. And essentially, that became the first verse of the song. And it's just, I think, further evidence of this glib and fatuous thing that I tend to say when people ask me how to write a song. I say, tell the truth and make it rhyme. So that's what I did with what Jessica said. And here to sing for good are, again, Alyssa Fox and McKenzie Kurtz.
I've heard it said that people come into our lives for a reason, bringing something we must learn, and we are led to those who help us most to grow if we let them, and we help them in return. Well, I don't know if I believe that's true, but I know I'm who I am today because I knew you. Like a comet pulled from orbit as it passes the sun, like a stream that meets a boulder halfway through the wood. Who can say if I've been changed for the better? But because I knew you, I have been changed for good.
It well may be that we will never meet again in this lifetime. So let me say before we part, so much of me is made of what I learned from you. You'll be with me like a handprint on my heart. And now whatever way our stories end, I know you have rewritten mine by being my friend. Like a ship blown from its mooring by a wind off the sea, like a seed dropped by a skybird in a distant wood. Who can say if I've been changed for the better? But because I knew you, because I knew you, I have been changed for good. And just to clear the air, I ask forgiveness for the things I've done you blame me for.
But then I guess we know there's blame to share, and none of it seems to matter anymore. Like a comet pulled from orbit as it passes a sun,
wind off the sea,
like a stream that meets
like a
a
seed
boulder
dropped by a
halfway
bird in
through
the
wood. Who can say if I've been changed for the better? I do believe I have been changed for the better. And because I knew you, because I knew you, because I knew you, I have been changed for
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Go to the Gershwin Theater. Go to the Gershwin
Come visit
Theater.
us. Yeah, please.
And thank you for your indulgence in letting us do this. This is what happens when you get so into it that you forget to concentrate.